Welcome to Larp Academia. Today we're going to talk about what you get as a level 3 scout in Amtgard. But before we get into all the nitty-gritty details and some possibly confusing things, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. As a level 3 scout, you gain 2 more abilities. Now I know most martial classes only gain 1 ability, but you gain 2 abilities just like how you did at 2nd level. It's amazing, I know. Now your abilities are both extraordinary, so you can cast them with weapons in hand. This is important because most scouts mistake one of these abilities and think that it's magical. The first ability that you get is Shadow Step. Shadow Step is not ambulance. This is something very important. The only other class that gets Shadow Step is an assassin, and people kind of double dip from assassin and scout, and usually when they Shadow Step as a scout, they think it's the exact same as an assassin, but it's not. You cannot say, I step in the shadows while moving. It is extraordinary with weapons in hand, but you need to stand still. You need to say, I step in the shadows. This is something very important that most scouts end up screwing up because they just think it's the exact same as an assassin shadow step, and it's not quite. Now, aside from that difference, it is the same as an assassin shadow step. You get this once per life, and it makes you insubstantial. You cannot walk, you cannot move, you cannot interact with anyone else. You're just insubstantial there in that spot. The incant, as I stated earlier, is I step in the shadows, or I step into the shadows, and then in order to get yourself out, you say, I return to the physical world, I return to the physical world. It needs to be audible within 20 feet, so people around you do need to be able to hear it. Shadow Step is usually a very good defensive ability for a scout. While assassins are able to use it more offensively, as I talked about a little bit in the assassin video, I'll link it in the description below, you only get it once per life. And it's not ambulance, so you can't use it as offensively. You instead have to use it defensively. If there is a barbarian who is coming at you with fight after death, then you'll probably want to step into the shadows so that you won't have to worry about dying. That's your main defensive mechanism. If someone is coming at you and they have a spear of annihilation and you don't have a shield and you don't think you can block it, you can step in the shadows as well. There are a few good defensive abilities with Shadow Step, but the problem with it is that people rely on it too much. They say, I step in the shadows. Haha, you can't get me. There's a few issues here. 1, people can surround you and wait for you to come out, and you're isolated from your team, so you're pretty much dead. 2, remember that release ability we talked about in level 2? Well, release usually isn't an issue for an enemy. You're usually using it to take away an ongoing effect or release a state on a friendly target. But touch spells are able to affect people who cannot attack or engage in combat and cannot move or are willing. Usually your allies are willing. But as we talked about in Shadow Step, you can't move your feet. You can't interact with anyone else. You are able to be released by a touch. So another scout could release you as well. And they can release you by having a hand-on weapon touching you. It's not pretty. So Shadow Step can be a trap if you're not very intelligent with how you use it. Or, I mean, if the scout's intelligent, they could track you and then charge up their tracking, but that would require some extra thought. Now, release can also work on an enemy frozen player. You can release them as well, but if a person is blinking or moving while insubstantial, you can't release them. And if an enemy is stopped but still able to technically fight, even if they don't have any weapons, let's say they've thrown all their throwies, their weapons have been broken, or they lost them somewhere and they can't fight you with anything, you still cannot release them because they still technically have the capability to fight. I don't know why you'd want to release a stopped enemy in that state, but that's still, that's just for you to understand how using the release ability on an enemy would work, since there's a lot of confusion about this. Your second ability that you get as a scout is not per life or chargeable. This is your first per refresh ability. This per refresh ability is Dispel Magic. It is a range of 20 feet. By my power, dispel that magic. By my power, dispel that magic. By my power, dispel that magic. And don't forget, when you declare a target, that you need to declare their name or their class and unique descriptor. So if you say, Assassin in black, my power dispels... Let's be honest here, most assassins are in black. But if they're the only assassin on the field, then you can get away with it. If there are 2 assassins in black, then you'll need to see something a little bit more special. So you could say, Assassin with no weapons in hand. By my power, dispel that magic. By my power, dispel that magic. By my power, dispel that magic. Because that assassin's just throwing weapons and the other one has 2 weapons in their hands. It's a unique descriptor. It doesn't have to be too descriptive, but it does need to make the person understand who you're casting at. Now, Dispel Magic works through frozen and insubstantial. So if an assassin tries to get out of it, I step into the shadows, because they can move and you can't. Before tracking them, you could dispel their enchantments and then track them and kill them. You could also deal with a frozen warrior who has 5 different enchantments on him because druids and some other stuff. Well, dispel him and then release him and kill him. There are a lot of ways to use Dispel Magic, but something that a lot of scouts don't know is that your Dispel Magic is extraordinary. That's right, you can cast it with weapons in hand or a weapon and a shield, whatever. You don't need to have a free hand. Many scouts usually take away another weapon and just try to cast with one open hand. No. It's not magic. It's extraordinary, which makes Scouts Dispel Magic a little bit better than it would be alternatively. It is still not ambulance, so you do need to keep your feet planted, but you can cast it with weapons in hand while defending yourself. Very important and something that no other class gets with Dispel Magic. Now, those are your 2 abilities that you get at level 3. Right now, you've got a total whopping 5 abilities, which is more than most classes get, even at, more active abilities than most classes get, even at level 6 for martial classes. And I would love to hear what you think of Scout. Do you like these abilities? Do you think they are truly fitting that jack-of-all-trades tone? Do you think they're powerful enough, or do you just think that they're too weak? If they are too weak or too strong or whatever, I'd love to hear what you say in the comments down below. Until next time, keep LARPing, keep supporting your team, and keep being a jack of all trades.